get birding. Welcome to our channel, Explore Some More, where we take you with us on our RV adventures.
Whether you're a full-time RVer or you're just headed out for the weekend, we've got all the RV tips you need, the gear you should try, and all the frickin' fun you should have.
So if all of that gets you jazzed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there. Tap that bell so every time we post a new video, you'll know about it right away.
Today we're going to cover the world of RV birding, and I'm going to give you 5 beginner tips that'll help you get out there and bird all the birds from the road. If you stick around to the end, I'm going to share my very favorite birding app for identifying bird songs. Birding wasn't just something that I wanted to do while we traveled. It was one of the reasons I wanted to travel, because how great would it be to see like a black and white warbler in Florida and then an acorn woodpecker in New Mexico. It'd be pretty sweet. If you'd like to start birding, more specifically, if you want to start birding while traveling, then here are the 5 helpful suggestions I've compiled based on the things I've learned in the last couple of years. The first thing you'll need, a good birding book. This is the one I use. Kaufman Field Guide to Birds of North America. There'll be a link in the description below to where you can buy this, by the way. It has tons of information about the different bird groups organized into these really helpful color-coded tabs. It's got a map showing you which region a bird might be in during what time of year. Most importantly, really helpful reference images of the birds. Now, if you aren't traveling, you might want to pick something up that's a little more specific to your region. You'll probably get more information on each bird, and you'll also be able to narrow down specifically which birds to be looking for in your area. How are you going to use the book? Are you going to take it out with you on a walk to go birding, or are you only going to reference it when you come back and want to figure out what birds you saw then? If you want to take it out with you, I highly recommend getting something lightweight and portable. This one, the Kaufman Field Guide, can fit in my back pocket sometimes, but I also carry like a little bag with me when we go out and keep it in there. So it also has this awesome bird index at the back of the book where you get to check off all the birds that you've seen as you go along, which if you're like me and you just love checking boxes, so satisfying. You're gonna have a ball. So I also like to go the extra step of finding the bird in the reference section, marking it off here as well, and then noting which town or city or location I first saw that bird. So then every time I see it again, I know where I first saw it. Binoculars. Binary oculars. Making things bigger since 1925. True fact. There's a lot that goes into picking a pair of binoculars, but I'm going to go over some key factors that make a pair good for birding and also not too crazy expensive. Binoculars can fit in your hand or be bigger than your head. These are Salut? I don't know. They were affordable and they were small. I wanted a small pair of binoculars because I wanted to take them on a hike. I had a larger pair and just found that I wasn't using my binoculars as often as I would like to because they weren't very comfortable to carry around on a hike. So for me, portability was a major factor. And if portability isn't as big of a necessity for you, you're probably going to want to focus on optics. There are 2 big numbers to pay attention to when comparing binocular optics: the magnification and the objective lens diameter. The bigger the magnification number, you guessed it, the more it magnifies. The thing is, you might not always want more magnification because the more you magnify on the bird, the greater the handshake you're going to be able to pick up in the lens. And then you're going to have a harder time identifying that bird. As for the objective lens diameter, most professional birders probably wouldn't have anything below 30. And really for the best quality image, you're probably going to be looking for something in the 40 to 45 range. You want that bigger objective lens because the bigger the lens is, the more light that you get into the binoculars. And that can really help when you're trying to identify the field markings of a bird in a tree in low light. Just keep in mind that the smaller that number, the less likely you're going to be able to pick up a bird in those lower light situations. I sacrificed clarity for portability when I chose these binoculars, and I'm happy with my choice because it's the choice that gets me out birding, but it might not be the right choice for you. In fact, I have been thinking about moving up in the objective lens diameter. But again, I'll have a link to this pair in the description below, because while I am looking to maybe upgrade a little bit, these have done a great job for me in the last year and a half. I'll also include a link to the pair that I am thinking about upgrading to. What about you? Do you have a particular pair of binoculars that you love? Something that's important to you when you're picking out a pair? Let me know in the comments below. Not all birding has to happen via binoculars though. I've caught some of my favorite birds with my handy dandy Nikon DSLR D3500. So I currently use this Nikon 70 to 300 millimeter lens. Zoom, telephoto. Ideally, I would have something with more telephoto-y-ness. 300 is really about the lowest you want to go for something like birding. I would like to upgrade this again somewhere down the line and get something with that was more like 400 to 500 millimeters would be great. This has been a great lens for me to learn on. Here are some of my favorite shots that I've been able to get with this setup. I usually shoot in continuous mode just so I can take as many shots as quickly as possible to capture birds moving around. And I usually consider it a success if I've got 1 out of 50 photos that turns out good. But the camera is not just good for taking pictures of birds. Nay, it is also great for identification when your binoculars or your old eyeballs are failing you. So many times I'll be trying to figure out what a bird is with my binoculars out in the field, and it'll just be moving too fast or in the middle of this really dark tree foliage, and I can't get it with binoculars. I'll pull out my camera, snap a picture of the bird, and even if it's not going to be the best bird picture that there ever lived, I can identify the bird off of that picture because I can take it back to my computer at home, load it up, kind of zoom in, enhance, and figure out what the bird is. And it's helped me identify, I think, at least 5 to 10 birds that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to identify. Look, it doesn't make for great photography, but it does make for checking some more birds off your list. If you're a fellow RVer, the birds you can hope to see are going to change as often as you move. A lot of birds are going to have a migration pattern that might make them prevalent in the spring in your region, and then completely absent in the rest of the year. So it's important to know not just what birds are going to be in the area, but what time of year they will be there. So how do you do it? How do you know which birds to keep your eye out for? There's a couple ways to do it, but my preferred method is once again to turn to my field guide. Before we set out for a new location, I'll usually leaf through the entire book looking at the map section to see which birds might be in that area at the time of year I'm going to be there. It can take a little time, but if you love birds, it's also an enjoyable time. Even more important than just getting a general idea of which birds can be in the area, I like to narrow it down to 5 birds that I just really want to see when we get to a particular spot. Narrowing it to 5 makes it, 1, way easier to remember the birds that I'm trying to see, and 2, all the more satisfying when I actually do see that bird and get to check it off my list. The second way that I like to try to prepare myself for birds in the next area I'm going to be in is to utilize the Audubon Bird Guide app. It's a free app. I believe it's available for Android and iPhone, and you can actually sort through a list of birds based on the state you're in and that month that you're there. So I can sort, for instance, right now by Colorado in June and pull a list of expected birds that I might be able to see. It's a lot like using the book, maybe a little faster than using the book. But I still prefer the book because I can always rely that the images are correct. Whereas on the app, I have noticed on occasion that the thumbnail image of the bird isn't accurate. And if neither of those options work for you, if you don't want the book, you don't want the app. If you're already headed to the local state park or national park, oftentimes in like the visitor centers, you can pick up a pamphlet that will have some of the local flora and fauna on it. Sometimes it's free, sometimes you have to pay for it, but it's a really good guide for stuff that's just really local to the area you will be in. Finding the right birding spot can be tough, especially if you're RV traveling. Every park is different. They might not have a quiet, secluded place or any nearby trails. And your neighbors probably wouldn't be too happy if you just came and plopped down in your camp chair and pulled out a pair of binoculars and started looking around. Not that I haven't done that, because I have. I used to try to hike and bird, but found that I was seeing the birds as they flew away because I was so loud. If you're clomping around, you got your bear bell jangling, Justin's talking, I'm talking, feet are scuffling. The birds hear you, they fly away. Now you can walk and bird, like a slow meander and bird. I do that a lot. All I'm saying is if you see like a little bench or a nice rock or something, a spot where you can stop, come off the trail and sit for a bit, if you want to catch some birds, that's your best bet. I'm really happy with the birding spot I have in this park. It is like a nice little secluded area, a log to sit on. It's up high, so like, I don't know, maybe 200 feet above the park itself. Not a lot of people know that it's up here. So it's just a great place to come, sit, listen to the birds. You can hear them right now. If you are looking for particular birding, quote unquote, hot spots in the area you're in, I once again recommend checking out that Audubon's Bird Guide app. They have a map where you can actually see where local birders are seeing the birds, which birds, and if there's any clusters, like areas that are really good to see birds. So check it out. Alright, those are the best tips I have so far. But as promised, there's one more thing I wanted to share with you because I've found it so useful. Bird songs are great identifiers. In fact, some birds can only be differentiated by their song. Lately, I've been finding it really rewarding to use an app out in the field with me to identify bird songs. I use it in conjunction with my camera and my binoculars. I've been using it for over a year now. It's called BirdNet, and it's a free app that you can get on, I believe, Android and iPhone. There have been multiple times where I've used the app, identified the bird via the app, and then later confirmed that identification with a photo I might have gotten, or if I was finally able to see it with my binoculars, I can confirm it that way, which is great to know. I've used some apps in the past that weren't that accurate, but this one actually does a great job. All you gotta do to use it is open the app, hit the microphone button to start recording, and when you're ready, you can just highlight the section you're interested in analyzing, hit the Analyze button, and BirdNet will return what it considers the most probable species. If there's a bunch of wind noise or something else that might interfere with the microphone on your phone, the recording's not going to be as good, and obviously the app will have a harder time identifying a bird. But anyway, give it a try. It's pretty easy. You just put the phone down next to you, hit record, sit, listen to the birds, and if you hear something interesting, turn to your phone, pause it, highlight, analyze, identify. What about you? Do you bird? Are you birding while traveling? If so, leave a comment below and let me know what birding tips you have.
You can go ahead and click here to subscribe. Also go ahead and hit that bell down below. Perhaps you will enjoy this video down here. Just so happens it might be one of our videos.
And check out the description below for any links to any of the products or tools I mentioned here today. Go Burbs!